Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. from the glorious Srimad Bhagavatam. First canto, 5th chapter, text number 11. Please repeat after me. Tat, Vag, Sargo, Janataga, Viplavo, Tadvag Visargo, Janataga, Viplavo, Yasmin, please shut that door. And also, everybody please either turn your phone off or put it on silent mode. The phone goes off, that person will give a 1,000 rupee donation to the BBT. 10 liters, right? Again. Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhadvati Api Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Sadhavaha Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhadavati Api Namani Anantasya Yasho Ashankitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhavaha Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhadavati Api Namani Anantasya Yasho Ashankitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhavaha Vagdi Sargo Janataga Viplavo Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhadavati Api Mani Anantasya Yasho Yashankitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhavaha each and every stanza of Bhagavati, irregularly composed, in spite of Namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord, Yashaha, glories, Ankitani, depicted, Yat, what? Shrivanti, to hear, Gayanti, to sing, Rinanti, to accept, Sadhavaha, the purified men who are honest, Translation by Srila Prabhupada. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. On the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions, the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted. Krishna made this place, right? Krishna created this world. He knows what is the solution to our problems. The ultimate solution is to leave this world. I was just reading a text about how there's as an opposing theory to Darwinism, there's the idea of intelligent design. Right? So the critics of intelligent design say, well, if this was intelligent design, how come there's so many problems in the world? There's disease, there's this problem, mutations and death and so many things like that, because they think that if there was a God and he designed the world, then it would be like a health spa. It would be like a paradise, But they don't understand the purpose of this world. It's not a health spa. It's not like everybody's got you go home and you can have like 5 apsaras massage you and the ladies that have 5 Gandharvas massage you down. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. The world is a prison. The Tihar jail is not like that. It's an unpleasant place on purpose so that people want to leave. That's the material world. As Syamasundar Prabhu aptly describes it, the material world is perfectly imperfect. By design, not by accident. It's not like it was purposely designed this way. Not accidentally. It's not like nobody was there and so it all just came together like this. No, it's done on purpose. It's like the jail is designed to be an unpleasant place. sent to The Hague, where the international courts are. They were being tried in The Hague, and they were being kept in a Dutch jail. They liked it so much that they applied for political asylum so they could stay in the jails in Holland. Because it was so much better than living in Somalia. The Dutch were insulted. They said, okay, we're going to send you to Kenya, in the Kenyan jail instead. So it was a lot less pleasant. So jails are designed to be unpleasant, depending upon where you come from. For Dutch people, jails are unpleasant. Dutch jails are unpleasant. But for Somalians, they're like heaven. It's just relative. So a Dutch person would definitely not want to be in an Indian jail. No, but an Indian would want to be in an Indian jail. This Indian, he dies and he goes to hell. And when he's in hell, he finds out that each hell, that for each person each country got its own hell. There's an American hell, Chinese hell, Russian hell, whatever. So he goes to the German hell and he asks, what's so special? What's in the German hell? He says, well, first of all, you have to sit in an electric chair. Then after that, you have to lay in a bed of nails. And after the German devil comes and beats you for the rest of the day. And he didn't like the idea of that. So he went with the Chinese hell. He said, well, you have to sit in an electric chair. You'll lay in a bed of nails. And then the Chinese devil comes and beats you for the rest of the day. And he went, and each hell was the same. They all had to do the same thing. Then there was a huge queue in front of the Indian hell. Everybody wanted to get in. Chinese wanted to get in. Everybody wanted to get in. So what did he do here? What's so special? What happens here? Well, first, you have to sit in an electric chair. Then you have to lay in a bed of nails. Then the Indian devil comes and beats you for the rest of the day. And Indians think that's the same as all the other jail. What's so special about it? It says, well, there's load shedding and there's no electricity. Somebody stole all the nails. And the Indian devil used to work for government. He signs the letter and goes to the cafeteria. But an Indian jail is not like that. So material here is very unpleasant. Tihar jail will get up to 58 in the summertime, no electricity. No air conditioning, no air conditioning. Some friends of ours when they go there, so we go. Of course, it doesn't matter where you're from, which part of the world. Even if you're very wealthy, you never did a broke law in your life, still, there are so many material difficulties, so many material problems, which can be summed up as 4. Krishna explains in the 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, the Vidya Lakshanas, the symptoms of a person who has acquired knowledge. And among those symptoms, one is Dharma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dosha Dukkha Nudakshana. He understands the intrinsic evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. So the world is a horrible place. Stephen Jobs just recently died. It didn't matter that he had more money than he had more money. His company had more money than the United States government had on hand. The United States government was $14 trillion in debt. He didn't have any debts. He had so much capital. Still, he died, and it was not pleasant. Only one way to be born. So many interesting ways to die. And 99.99 are unpleasant. So he was not happy to die. No matter how much money. He might have had some punya because he mentioned Hare Krishna in his speech, and this which was popularized all over the world. So we are meant
revolutionaries, real revolutionary spirit. They have a mission to perform. These Maoists in northeast India, they think they have a mission. But they're just killing people, blowing people up, massacring. They think they're on a mission. When they get in power, then they'll do the same thing to everybody else. Because they're communists. That's why their flag is red, because it's drenched in blood. Nobody has murdered more people than the communists. There's one book called The Black Book of Communism, which approximately they killed a neighborhood of about 70 to 100 million people out of the organization. But that's not our game plan. Our game plan is actually to benefit people by giving them these literatures, these books. These books are not different than Krishna. This book is the same as Krishna. And in fact, specifically stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that this is the literary incarnation of Krishna. It has come to give life after Krishna has left. He had disappeared from the earth. And so the Bhagavatam is identical with Krishna. Same as the Gita, all Vedic literatures are personifications of Krishna. So by giving people these books, it will have tremendous impact in their lives. Because just as before there were so many wars, recently there were so many wars that were called proxy wars between the communists and the capitalists. They didn't want to actually fight with each other because it would lead to nuclear wars. They would fight proxy wars. So there's proxy wars going on between the Devas and the Asuras going on in the world right now. Just like we are agents of Krishna, we're also agents of Maya. This is told in the Mahabharata. After Duryodhana had been rescued by Arjuna from the Gandharvas, he felt so humiliated that he had to take help from his enemies, the Pandavas, that he was going to commit suicide. So the Pandavas in the lower planets, they didn't want to commit suicide. They sent a yogini, and Radharani says, "You can't commit suicide. We sent you there. We sent you. You are our agent." So there are many agents on both sides. So we're on Krishna's side. So we have to fight. And of course, the other side has also got its agents, trying to bewilder us, so confuse us, dissuade us, discourage us. So many ways. That's the way it works. Fight. But we have to, by distributing these books, we have to pay. By distributing these books, there will be a change. Srila Prabhupada explains in other places, in lectures, talking even here, that if just a small percentage of people take up Krishna consciousness, by a small percentage, he sometimes said 1%, sometimes he said 3%. Take to Krishna consciousness, it will have a serious impact in humanity at large. But sometimes we think we want to have a mass movement. No, we don't want to have a mass movement. We just want few good people. 1%. It's like there's in the United States, there are 4 branches of the military: the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, and the Marines. The Marines are the smallest branch, but they have the highest standards, the strictest requirements to join the Marines.
Greeks of Persia, Cyrus the Younger, he wanted to rebel against his brother and take over the throne. He had accumulated an army of 350,000 soldiers. But for his court, he had 10,000 Greek mercenaries. That was his court. Because they just fought a 25-year war. There's a lot of unemployed soldiers that they were hardened soldiers. So this was his court, and he marched from Greece to present day, and they almost won that war, except the prince, he got a little bit too far ahead. He was captured and executed. So now, what happened is, his men, the 350,000 Persians, deserted and went over to the king, leaving 10,000 Greeks stranded in the middle of Persia, 1,000 miles away from home. And this is like before, they didn't have any helicopters, they dropped ammunition and food, and they walked all the way. So because they were very disciplined, these 10,000 men, they were able to walk back. They marched back to the Black Sea, and they took the boat back. Only had 40% casualties. They were fighting a 1,000,000-man army. But they had 10,000 men against a 1,000,000 men. They had to forage for food. Not that they could just, they had to hunt for it. They had to get the food. They were still able to do it because highly disciplined. So the same thing. Then Alexander and his father, when the Greeks heard about this, they realized they could get revenge. That 100 years earlier, the Persians had invaded them. So they were a highly disciplined army. When Alexander the Great invaded Persia, they were outnumbered. They had only 40,000 men invaded Persia. 40,000 men versus 1,000,000 men. But they were very highly disciplined, highly trained. And they often engaged in battles where they were outnumbered 3 or 4 to 1. Unfavorable terrain. He purposely did it to show they were better. Psychological victory. And in only a few short years, conquered all of Persia. Because it's better to have fewer highly trained, disciplined, motivated. One motivated person is better than 100 unmotivated persons. That's why the Prophet says, just a few people. We don't want mass. We just want a few people. Because then there'll be the tendency to want to water things down, to let more people in. That's self-defeating. Few people will influence many people. Their way of thinking. Just like Brahminical standards. You shut that door, please. Brahminical standards, cleanliness, everything, the whole society followed that. Using the left hand, bathing, everybody did that because that's what Brahmins did. Everybody imitated. Everybody imitates the higher echelons of society. Not that we have to have everybody become a devotee. We just want one moon. One moon, a full moon, is better than a whole sky of stars. So to get those persons, we only get 1%. So how many people live in Bangalore? 10 million. 1% is 100,000. You just get 100,000 actual devotees, not so-called devotees, but real devotees. Chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regular principles, wearing tilak, dhotis, saris, sincerity. So they will influence other people. They will have an impact. The consciousness will impact. You'll see how a place like just a small amount of time that Srila Prabhupada was on the earth,
middle of history. We don't see the impact of things. Later, 1,000 years from now, 500 years from now, people will think this is the revolution. We're not seeing the revolution take place because we're in the middle of the revolution. We're in the eye of the storm. We don't understand the impact that we are having. So therefore we have to keep our eye on the ball. We can't become distracted. Because it's like in slow motion. We don't it's happening very slowly. Or like somebody they don't notice their own children growing up. But a stranger who comes and hasn't seen you for 6 months, your child is so big. You don't see it. But if a historian or somebody was to go to Mars and come back 10 years later, you see, wow, the world has changed. Whole different belief systems are happening. Why? It's like I was speaking about how Darwinism in a few short years turned a theological society into animals. So we have to reverse that process. This is what we will reverse it with. It has a profound influence. So even slight contact with Srila Prabhupada has an impact. Srila Prabhupada. There's Shuddha Kirti, my godbrother, tells a story about how one time he was traveling to South America with Srila Prabhupada, like in the 70s. So temple that they left with had given them some prasada to take on a plane. So some muri and some peanuts. So after Prabhupada was finished, he gave the Shuddha Kirti. But then some airline stewardess, she came by, she saw, she said, oh, that looks good. Well, she just took a handful, started eating it. Right? Then she said, well, why are you bringing your own food? Why are you bringing your own food? And I explained the whole thing. I said, well, can I serve you anything? Can I get you anything more? Some fruits, like that, some milk, hot milk. She went to first class and came back with 3 glasses of hot milk and served it to devotees. And then, they were commenting on how, pious woman, she always wants to serve like that. But that's not the end of the story. So then later, just a few years ago, Shuddha Kirti was in Brazil, preaching in public, about his book, Enthusiasm about Srila Prabhupada, and he told his story. And a devotee came to him and he said, one time he was distributing in the remote jungles of Brazil. There's a lot of jungles in Brazil, the Amazon and rainforest. He knocked on one door. Out came a lady wearing tila and neck rings, and he was like shocked, And she invited him into the house, and her house like a temple. He asked her, well, once I used to work as an airline stewardess, and I met the author of this book, and I was so impressed by him that I looked up on his boarding pass. I saw his name, and I looked him up, and I started getting the books. I started reading the books. And she lived thousands of miles from any temple, and she just started following what it said in the books. So she had personal contribution to Prabhupada, very brief, how much contact, But the main thing is, Prabhupada is in these books. Like Prabhupada just said, what does he say? On the very last sentence of this purport. Last sentence of this purport says, we are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is not presented with so many faults. But it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. So Narada Muni appears, and so Narada Muni it's not like some fictitious thing. Narada Muni has kindly appeared in this chapter. That means we associate with Narada Muni. We're associating with Guru. Narada Muni is the guru of practically everybody. Anybody who's anybody is a disciple of Narada Muni. I can't think of anybody important who's not a disciple of Narada Muni. Right? Valmiki was a disciple of Narada Muni. Dhruva, Prahlad, the Pandavas, Vyasadeva. He's in our group. He's a son of Brahma. So anybody who gets this book, they will be associating not only Krishna's, and they'll also then you get everybody. You associate with them. They change. You know, my own story. I never met, this lady, at least she met Prabhupada in a plane. I didn't meet Prabhupada like that. I first remember I was around 16, and some devotees were on the street. They were shooting. They got by with there were no BTGs. BTGs. I thought it was kind of, what is this? Boy holding on the mountain. It's like, didn't exactly go through. And then, in 1971, I was at a rock festival. Completely, my brain was obliterated. I remember I saw this Harinam group. Shaved heads, the big Harinam, they're really, wow, this is the most, what group is that? I thought it was like some 23 group. This is the most far-out group of all. And they were really into it. And then finally, I think it was in February of '76. Well, just earlier than that, I was teaching Hatha Yoga, and I was invited by one of the senior yoga instructors to go to his house. So I went to his house, and we were doing some pharmaceuticals at that time. So I went to his library, and from the door of the library, you get like a huge library. But my eyes were fixated on two books. I walked to there's two copies of Macmillan Gita, and I just flipped them open and started reading. The pictures. Now, one thing, the pictures, very important. There's the book marathon. Do not sell the books in plastic covers. Take them out of the plastic covers. Show the people the pictures. It's extremely important they see the pictures. Don't think that they should be virgin books in plastic. All of them should just explain. Pictures should be seen by people. So when I saw these pictures, and I saw members, there's the sadhu and the dead persons, and those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. This is a serious book. Serious book. Other books I was reading, they're like all fluffy, new agey stuff, Mayabad, all those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. This is a heavy stuff. Heavy. This is the real. I want to get a copy of this book. I wanted a copy of this book. So a few weeks later, I was working in my place, and I was going back and forth to buy some unmentionable clothing. So the boat was standing at the corner. It was February. In Canada, February is like -20. Really cold. Of course, for us it's nothing. But here you can't even imagine. Like inside of your freezer, It's like. But when I first went to New Vrindavan, it was -30 outside. It was so cold outside that the doorknob at the inside of my room had that much ice on it. That's how cold. That's cold. But I had been in India for so long that I was invigorated for me to get that cold. So he was standing there selling flowers, and the flowers were frozen solid. Solid, 20 degrees below zero. So I bought some and I gave them to the girls at work and stuff. So then finally, I walked back and forth many times, and I bought flowers, and I asked them, got in a conversation, and I had to tell them I was doing yoga, blah, 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 and he said, oh well, Bhakti yoga is like the elevator, you're just taking the stairs. So then finally I said to him, do you have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita? I want to buy it. And then he was shocked, because he was just selling paraphernalia. And he said, actually, I have one copy. My Sangha told me to bring it because somebody will ask me for it. So he told us deep, and it was different. It was the abridged edition, yellow cover. But I identified it because it had the same pictures in it. It was in the Macmillan edition. I bought it. I brought it home. I didn't have much time to read it because I had 3 jobs. I was working 3 jobs. But I thought to myself, just keep this book. It will have an effect. Even though if I don't read it, it will have an effect. Because Krishna. Krishna speaking to Arjuna. No different from Krishna, like having a deity in your house, whether you know, it has an effect. Being this in the association of Krishna has an effect. So a few months later, actually, a few months later, May of that year, I met some devotees. Now this is a lesson to you. When you meet somebody who's inimical to you, you should be. So my brother, who visited me last year, he and I were coming from the liquor store. And I had a bottle of scotch in my hand, it was still in the box. We were planning to smoke some ganja and take some LSD. We were on our way to do that. So there were some devotees had a table. They were selling prasad, candies. And I was on health freak. I was on a salt and sugar-free diet. So as soon as I saw this devotee selling candies, which are made from sugar, I got on his case. Of course, it didn't occur to me that I had a bottle of scotch in my hand. I was saying, this is poison. I was shouting at him that this is poison. Oblivious to the fact of what I was doing. So this devotee, now he could have reacted in two ways. Sometimes I'm sure devotees get checked. We meet all kinds of people, right? So how did this devotee react? He didn't get on he just was very calm. Because you'll find out why that was important. Because later, when I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, so I started actually reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I started following. I lived 400 kilometers from the nearest temple. There was no other devotees in the area. So I had streets like this, reading across the street. But I remember this place I'm ending on this topic. I say to myself, feel fine. Real fine. So much. So I started, following everything as much as I could. It said to chant, so I started chanting. I didn't have anything to know. Not the devotees. Prabhupada was there. I started chanting. I stopped associating with my friends. I stopped taking drugs. I'd already stopped taking drugs just a few weeks before that. And I just started doing everything. Prabhupada said. Because the broken on different fronts. Then I've been struggling to be a vegetarian for about a year before that, because for health reasons, self-purification. Then I came across the Hare Krishna cookbook. So then I started explaining, how to honor Krishna, the real reason, spiritual. So then from that point, I never, ever touched meat again. Then I started offering my food to the Gita. The Gita is Krishna. Then after reading the Gita, I was thinking, who is this Krishna anyway? I read the philosophy. Who is it? Who is this Krishna person, So I was visiting my girlfriend, and she was babysitting at some house. So we were talking, and she's standing. All of a sudden, I'm looking at her, and I'm looking right past her. There was a bookshelf behind her, an empty bookshelf except for one book on the bookshelf. The Krishna book. Nobody had ever opened it. It was a completely unopened book. And I just been thinking for the last week, who is this Krishna? And they are, amazingly, like we're 400 kilometers from the nearest temple, and there is, on the only book on the bookshelf, is the Krishna book. So I back down, I went right past pastor, and I went to grab the Christian book. So I started reading the Christian book, and I remember again reading this about this little boy holding the hill on his hand, right? I think this is like completely unbelievable. Then I was thinking, well, if Christian is God, he should be able to do things that I can't do, right? That's just a given. Something like that. And then just a few weeks later, I joined. I had a whole situation. I was going through every recipe in the cookbook. I didn't get very far, but each recipe was so good that I kept repeating it over and over. Over and over again. But then, within a few weeks from that point, I joined. So there was that's just from Prabhupada's books. He is in these books. Krishna is in these books. Narada Muni is in these books. Prahlad. They are these books. And we have to distribute them. We have to read the books. We have to live the books. We have to distribute the books. Okay, we'll get everybody benefits. We'll benefit. People who get the books will benefit. And even if only 1% become the ones, the rest of the society benefits. And Krishna becomes happy. And the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the prayers of Chittiketu, he explains how does the Lord feel when what causes the feeling of victory in the Lord. We think, well, when Varaha killed Hiranyaksha, that's victory. Or when Nrsimhadev killed Hiranyakashipu. Or when Krishna killed Kamsa, this is victory. No, Krishna doesn't feel victory. Or when Ram kills Ravana, that is not how he feels victorious. Chittiketu explains that Krishna feels victorious if he can reclaim just one soul. He feels victory. So, our duty is to help him. Like the monkeys were helping Ram. We have to help Krishna feel victorious. But first ourselves surrendering to him, and then by helping others also to surrender to him. And I don't know about other books you did, but recently, like when I was in my very serious car accident back in September of 2007, my godbrother Nirguna Prabhu, he called me, I've known him since like 1978, dedicated book to Shiva. He called me from Mayapur. He was diagnosed with cancer, and I looked at his horoscope and I said, don't make any future plans. Don't make any long-range plans, because you're not going to live. So 2 months later, he left his body, but he had decided he just fasted, just taking Charnamrita. But his death was so auspicious. Harishari described the whole thing. He was surrounded, by devotees, chanting continuously. Remember, my brother Kurma, and Kirtan leaders can take a lesson from this. He led Kirtan for 7 hours without changing the tune. Same melody. Everybody became told. Kirtan is not meant to show, to express how many tunes a Kirtan leader knows. Kirtan as a guided meditation. And it's actually it's the highest system of it because it also includes pranayama. So if you're always changing the tune, it breaks your concentration. 7 hours form get the same melody. And he explained how waiting for
makes it backfire. Cancer, skin and bones, certain just culture. He had his arm raised. Money where your mouth is, right? So I gave 50,000 rupee donation to the book fund for distributing these books a couple of days ago. That means I believe in this. I wish I could have given more, but for certain reasons I fractured my rib in October and financial difficulties. So 50,000 rupees. Put your money where your mouth is. So anybody out here to appreciate anybody else could give Shastra. That means that nobody's under so much pressure to generate a certain amount of money. Whatever donation that you get for the book, of course, sometimes people they appreciate they give so much money. But if sometimes people have to get this much money, then they feel pressured, and they put pressure on the person like that. And it's better if they don't, this person just give, it's better all around if there's no pressure. So we are inviting other people, please, we're giving other people an opportunity to give money so that we can give out books. Provide us with the ammunition. The books are the ammunition. Can give out as many books as possible. Every amount. If you can't give 50,000, you can give a lot. You can give less, give more, as much as you can. Krishna doesn't see how much you give, he sees how much you keep for yourself. So if you're a mega crorepati and you give 1 lakh, it doesn't mean anything. But if you haven't got so much money and you give 10,000, that's a lot. Not what you give, but what you keep for yourself. Krishna is coming. So now we're going to read a few things. This could be a little bit longer than a normal session. We're going to read a few describing some of the potencies of Krishna's books. First, I'll tell you one story. I gave an example about. I was saying about how. The reason I mentioned that the fact that I was yelling and shouting at that devotee because they were distributing sugar candies. The reason I mentioned that is that the day I joined, he was the devotee, the first devotee I met. Who led me to the side. So if he had shouted and screamed at me, then it would have had a slightly negative. I might not have been so enthused to see him. But so then he was the devotee who then introduced me, so to the Sankirtan leader. So even though somebody may shout and scream at you, the next time he could be surrendering to you. So you never know what happens. And now I'm going to tell you a story, a true story. I only shouted at this person. So in the early 80s, in France, devotees were doing book distribution in the train station. We have train stations here. We're going to have the metro also. So this one young Mataji, she was distributing Krishna books in the train. She gave a book to this one man. He took the book. He was so upset. To show how upset he was, he took the Krishna book and he was so strong he practically tore the Krishna book in half, threw it on the ground and started jumping up and down on it while cursing her. He was cursing her, calling her all kinds of names. She was just a bum, she was a beggar. And he was so annoyed, he grabbed her by the hair, started dragging her through the train
train onto the platform. It was in Paris. She landed with such force she was bleeding like that, and the devotees, they came, and they were she was bleeding. She fractured her jaw, something like that. Everybody was cursing this man, cursing him. But he was taking a train from Paris to Madrid, and he kept the book with him. He was a banker. He owned a big bank, and he brought the book to his home, and he was showing his wife. Just see what he did, such a nonsense woman, blah 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 blah, and like this. And he left the book on the table. His wife went up shopping. He went to his bank, and the housekeeper came, and she saw this book. She thought, oh, somebody must have damaged this book. It must be an important book. So she tried to put the book together again as good as possible, and she put it in his bookshelf. But a year later, his wife died in a car accident, and his son had become a drug addict or something like that, and his daughter had married some real low-life character. He was alone, and he was completely, totally depressed because he was totally in love with his wife. Sudden death, no warning. At least if your wife got cancer, so that you have a long time. It's sad, but you have at least some time to get used to it. But car accident, sudden shock, he was totally devastated. And he was considering suicide. And then he looked actually looking for the Bible. He looked up at the bookshelf and he saw this book, Krishna book. So he pulled down the Krishna book and started reading it. And he got to the part where Vasudev is preaching to Kamsa about how the inchworm, just like we change our body, just like the inchworm, he puts his foot one front feet forward and it puts his back up like this, and he goes through different lives. And this gave him some solace that his wife, she actually hadn't died. She just changed her body. So he read like that. And then instead of going to work, he read. In fact, instead of going for 3 days, he didn't go to work. He just read the whole book. And it gave him so much solace that he was on the verge of suicide. And then the book was in French, but he could read Spanish, could read the book. And then he looked in the back of the book, he was looking for the address, and he found the address of Paris Temple. And they told him, well, actually, we have a temple in Madrid. So he went to the Madrid temple. And so when he arrived at the Madrid temple, the knocks on the door, when the temple person opens the door, there's this man in a suit on his knees. He was crying because he's begging for forgiveness. He said, first of all, I destroyed this book. Second of all, I beat the girl who was trying to save me. He was weeping. So the temple president, what's going on? This guy, he didn't know. He was just new, and he didn't know what was going on. But you could see this man is a very respectable gentleman in a nice suit, so he invited him in. And the man began telling his story. And the temple president didn't know what to do. So he said, anyway, what can I do to him? So he just signed a check for a big amount of money. And he gave the temple president. That was on a Wednesday. But the next Sunday, the bank president only came to the Sunday program. And every Sunday he was coming. And after about a year or so, he decided, he was very wealthy, very affluent. He was the owner of a chain of banks. He said, I want to join. He gave up everything, wanted to join the temple. So they made him the treasurer. But after some time, the Christmas marathon came. And he thought, can I also distribute books? He asked, he was a little older, he was in his 40s. Unlike the 20-year-olds, he was in his 40s, so they said, okay. So he started distributing books, and he said, I don't want to go back. I want to be the temple. I don't want to be the temple treasurer anymore. I want to distribute books. So he became a full-time book distributor. And then after some time, after a year or so, they had the whole yatra, the whole zone had a festival in Italy. So he went and he was and on his knees begging Invitina, begging her for forgiveness. Of course, she was probably more shocked than he was. Naturally, she forgave him. But so we can see that the Pope is even somebody who apparently is very inimical. How inimical can it get? Outside of killing the devotee, he tore the book in half, practically in half, and he threw a woman off a moving train. A young girl, Yet he, by the potency of Srila Prabhupada, because he was, maybe that curse also affected him, his family was destroyed. But he read, and the book was in his office for years, having the book in the association, that it had an effect. Before ending, I want to read one letter. Oh, another story, short story. And sometimes people who are affected don't come to the temple. When I was living in Banakata Road, there was some VIP that was going by, there, so they blocked off the whole thing. And so the policeman standing on my street, standing there for several hours. So I was thinking, I took a book, I had a bunch of books, I'll go give him a book. There's some consequence. So as soon as he saw the book, he took the book and touched it to his head. And he explained to me his story. He said when he was in police academy, he served in a suicide. But somehow he had got a hold of the Bhagavad Gita as by Srila Prabhupada and read that book, and it saved him from killing himself. So he never came to the temple. But he said that there are so many he's benefited. Maybe they came to the temple. We should not stand. Best to me. This is June 2007. Her name is, this is a girl from New York, her name is Camille Scipione. When was the 7th? Dear Syamasundar. Basis, I was surprised by this. I'm surprised. Because what I did is, as an astrologer, I get all my karmic clients, I give them all Prabhupada's books. I have them send them directly to their house. Bhagavad Gita has the deluxe edition of Gita, Science of Self-Realization, and Bhagavad Gita CD. So when I read that, well, something is very strange here. It's Hare Krishna says, nearly 3 years ago, I ordered an astrocartography to find out where to go to find my guru and spiritual path. Choosing you at random and not caring much that you were, quote, in the service of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, end quote, whose names I did not understand anyway. I discovered that my birth data was actually 7 minutes later than the one I gave you. I didn't relocate, but pondered your words as you warned, beware of bogus gurus. In addition to the protection you gave me verbally, you rendered more service with the gift you sent, Bhagavad Gita as it is. I had taken it out of the library, out of the public library almost 10 years ago while trying to learn about yoga, but returned it due to my heart being bitter and not wanting to absorb Srila Prabhupada's purports. I went back to reading the Mayavadi type Gitas and other similar literatures, remain very unhappy and lost. Upon receiving Bhagavad Gita as it is from you in September 2004, I kept it by my bedside and read a little every night for almost 2 years before seeking out devotees. In early summer 2006, decided it was now or never. I needed to hear this mantra chanted from the lips of the pure Vaishnavas, as Srila Prabhupada had advised. I found out there was a center at 26 2nd Avenue in New York City, Prabhupada's original center, and took a 2-hour train ride alone, not knowing what to expect. Arriving sweaty, with a rapid heartbeat, I was greeted by 2 brahmacharis and went to sit down for kirtan for the first time. It is difficult for me to describe what happened to my body and mind while first hearing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, from these devotees. All my pain and fear disappeared. I felt I was being held in the arms of someone who loved me very, very much. I continued attending temple programs, and when asked how I came there, I tell devotees it was because of a gift from you. I am indebted to you, Syamasundar Prabhu, because it was your mercy combined with that of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada that arranged for Bhagavad Gita to be put in my hands again, this time with the intelligence to understand and pursue Krishna consciousness. Your aspiring servant, Camille. So, of course, I can't explain to you how much I felt after getting that letter. At least one person was benefited. Even Bhakti's up to the same thing. At least one. I feel that my whole life work is successful. If at least one person becomes a pure devotee, not wanting millions, just one. You cannot understand the potency of people. Don't try with any logic. What will be the effect? Just distribute these books. They have their own, they are Krishna. Krishna is a genius. Krishna will have his effect. You do not know how it will get in somebody's hand. You don't know what will happen. One godbrother of mine, Kundali. How did he become a devotee? The devotees were distributing books at the New York, what was it? Port Authority. At the Port Authority. And people were getting the books and they were just throwing them in the garbage. His mother worked at the Port Authority. She found the books in the garbage. Well, my son likes books. She brought the books to her son. He started reading them. He became a devotee. Another godbrother, when he was a mechanic, how did he become a devotee? He was working on a car. Under the car seat, he found a button, BTG. He read the BTG. He became a devotee. Just distribute the books. They will get there somehow, some way, at some time. They're like ticking bombs. I just read last week in Germany, they found a bomb from the Second World War, 1.8 megatons, no, 1.8 kilotons, like about 3,000 pounds. Bomb, still active. There's no like time. There's no. They don't. The Bhagavatam doesn't expire. It doesn't expire. Nobody's reading last year's best thriller, but this book is still effective. And heaven forbid, anybody in ISKCON might go down and get out there. That lady. Of the came with the because I was that's how I became the devotee. Srila Prabhupada said never happen.
their bank. So they had the grocery store. Middle of the hero. Oh, your hands up. And the speaker, they opened the 12 cars there and 20 police with their guns pointing at them, Come on with your hands up. He thought it was a dream. Like, am I dreaming? Or what? So he fell with all did it in their gum shirts, and the police start frisking them even though they're in their gum shirts. He says, what are you doing here? We're distributing love of God in the form of these books. Says, prove it, show me. So he goes and opens the bin of his car, and he pulls out a bag of it, and he starts showing it to the chief, to the head of the police. So the police officer starts looking through the books. The book, he says, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And Brother Bahari and all the police officers they were like shocked, and he thought he was still in a dream. He thought he was still dreaming. And the police officer is saying, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Then he began to explain his story. He had gone, when he went to university, he attended the University of Florida in Gainesville, where the devotees, every day, they distributed prasadam and the books with it. So he said, I practically survived. I went through university, surviving on the Krishna lunch prasadam. Survived on that. Steve Jobs went once a week, but he went every day. So he said, these are good. He said to these books are great. Everybody should buy one. 9% of the police officers bought books, and they made $200 that night. They don't understand the effect of these books. Just distribute them. Distribute them, and then stand back and see the results. But we have to distribute them. One other thing, a part of our book, because we have to, you can only sell something you believe in, right? The best salesmen sell that which they use themselves. That's why I say you have to read the books first, you live the books, and you distribute them. Also, part of that includes listening to Srila Prabhupada. So here, we made available, this is a 2 DVD set, everything by Srila Prabhupada. When I first got this, back in 1998, before MP3s, it cost 1 lakh, 100,000 rupees. Now you can get the same thing, and it took a whole bookshelf. It took a whole bookshelf, bundled 16 cassettes each. A whole shelf, bookshelf, was $2,000, 1 lakh. Now, 200 rupees. 200 rupees. Please, specifically those persons who signed up for the Reading Prabhupada book, the Bhaktivedanta Book Club, please get these, put them in an MP3 recorder, load them on your computer, listen to them daily. When you're brushing your teeth, that's what I do. Making up my bed, whenever I'm doing something, cooking, whatever, you can listen. You hear directly from Srila Prabhupada. You have to hear Prabhupada. How do you know your guru is telling you the right thing? How do you know your guru is following Srila Prabhupada? Unless you know what Prabhupada said. You don't know. Srila Prabhupada is everyone's Shiksha disciple. Is anybody Shiksha's guru? This kind of means we are the Shiksha disciples of Srila Prabhupada. No matter who your guru is, Srila Prabhupada is a Shiksha guru. It's like in the Sri Sampradaya, they may have their guru, but everybody reads the works of Ramanujacharya. He is the Shiksha guru. Madhva Sampradaya, Madhva is the Shiksha guru. You know that often. But Shiksha guru, so Srila Prabhupada is our Acharya. You can't say, I can't listen to Srila Prabhupada. I have to listen to everybody else first. No, you should listen to him first, then listen to other people. Otherwise, you won't know.
because we've had, well, it wouldn't be the first time that in ISKCON that a guru went off the path. That is the history. It's not the first time, it won't be the last time. But there are still, Srila Prabhupada said, don't be surprised if we leave.